Hi, and welcome to the McGregor Dementia Support Ministry Podcast, a podcast providing relevant resources to those currently walking the dementia journey with their loved ones. Today's podcast is a session recorded from our Alzheimer's and Dementia Seminar held here at McGregor Baptist Church on February 22nd, 2025. Today's podcast is titled Healthy Living for Your Brain by Dr. Deborah Coe Silver.
Thank you, Pastor Mark. What a warm introduction, and what a really honor, privilege it is to be with you all today. And boy, are these tough acts to follow. Everyone, we learned so much from Dr. Mast and Dr. Shaw, and they've really given you a firm foundation and understanding about, the challenges of the neurobiology behind changes in the brain, and really given us the foundation to move forward when we think about promoting brain health. And Ms. Mullally and wonderful Ms. Lee Bellinger, who has spoken so powerfully on how it is to live so well with the challenges of changes that happen. We all do, as we get older, experience those changes. And I know at 73, climbing up on 74, that I encounter those changes all the time. But it is wonderful to be with a faith-based community today, because I feel, I was telling Lee earlier, freed up to really talk about the spiritual part of the tools in the toolbox, where in other settings I might be more constrained. So today Kim really asked me, she said, talk about tools in the toolkit, and we saw those wonderful resources. Those are wonderful additions. Well, in your handout, Kim helped me prepare. There are some summary slides that you'll be looking at, and you'll be able to see that these are all repeating, they are reinforcing the important messages that Dr. Shaw and Dr. Mast and Ms. Mullally and Ms. Bellinger have talked to you about. And so I'm going to be zipping through many of these, because the focus that Kim has asked me to give today is on two main topics, which what's happening in research, and also what about supplements, and what should we be thinking about. What I would say is, and it's a weird statement, I know, when I say this, a lot of times people will say, what do you mean by that? This is the most exciting time in the field of research on Alzheimer's disease. And you heard a lot from Dr. Mast today as he talked about what is coming out from research. But when we get to that part, he's so right on point when he talked about, wow, there's these changes in the brain with amyloid plaques and with tau tangles, but there's so much more, and there's so much more happening in research besides looking at infusions. We're also understanding other prevention strategies that both Dr. Shaw and Dr. Mast really focused on, and Lee is a living example of what you're doing here today, and the way that you are focused on your brain health. And that's where I hope you really think about research. We're looking at brain health. So today, when we look at what are the examples of better Alzheimer's care, there's some resources at the end of this handout. There's a bibliography. But here you'll see you've already heard about, the importance of a coordinated care team, and the research from the Alzheimer's Association. What a great group, what a wonderful organization to support. They have really studied what does help us stay healthy over our lifespan. And first of all, having that coordinated effort with your primary care provider. We know that personalized care, when Dr. Mass talked about this, needs to be a dialogue that we have with our primary health care providers. But I want to empower you. Today you're going to develop a vocabulary. And what Alzheimer's Association found out is it is so important to have the words to express what is happening and when we do notice some changes in our memory and thinking, because it is normal to have changes as we get older. And I want to reassure you there that there are many things that we do experience through our lifespan where we're not as quick with pulling forth words, but there are good reasons for that that would be a whole talk right there. But knowing that when you have that personalized care and when you make your decisions and know that you really are the leader of the team and what works for you may not be the same as what works for someone else, even your closest loved ones. So it is important that your care is personalized to your desires and what's important to you. The next slide, a lot of times people would say to me, well, why would I want to know if I have these plaques or tangles in my brain? And about 4 years ago, I struggled to give them an answer. And I would say, well, it's really up to you. It's really your choice. Today, I will tell you it's like any other healthcare issue. It's when I started developing all these skin cancers. And boy, did I learn the importance of finding them and getting them out quickly. Early intervention. And now, as Dr. Mass talked about, we've got some game changers, and they're just the beginning of game changers, but there's a whole host of other things. As one of our principal investigators, Dr. John Huffaker, says, it's like going across a river, Debbie, he tells me, and its river is just raging, and we're in this leaky canoe, and we have this tiny little bucket, and we're trying to bail out our leaky canoe, and we're getting across. We want to get across, and then we get a little farther and we get a bigger bucket to bail out our leaky canoe. We got to get across this, but we're finding out, as with many diseases, it's probably not one but a host, a sort of buffet or a cocktail of various approaches that are going to help us cure the disease of Alzheimer's. You may have seen my wonderful partner, Irene Montanaro, and as she talks about the importance of not just hoping for a cure, but helping us find that cure by becoming part of a research team, being one of our courageous volunteers like Lee Bellinger and her wonderful husband, that the two of them together have grabbed a hold of their brain health and doing what they can, to live that life. And what I hope and pray is we're all going to be like Sister Mary, who lives a full life and manages to hold on to cognitive strength. So when we look at the importance of early diagnosis, that is the point of that slide. The next one, that your presence here today really reinforces that your commitment to knowing more, your courage to know more, not having fear, is the best approach when it comes to dealing with this disease. So it's a powerful tool in your toolkit. The next slide, Dr. Huffaker, he's always, I'm always trying to write down his pearls of wisdom. And what the RAND report really reinforces, it's another resource in your bibliography, is we are rewriting history. People like Lee Bellinger, she's rewriting history on the course of this disease because we are, for the first time, bending the curve. And I don't know how many of you knew, I always have to mention this, Dr. Fred Sheriff, may he rest in peace, cut down by a different neurodegenerative disease that we heard about. And when Dr. Mast and Dr. Shaw talked about Lou Gehrig's disease, or ALS. But he was the one who said to me 9 years ago, Deb, we're about the same age. You need to know we've got this horrible tsunami of Alzheimer's headed toward us. We've got to do something about it. And because of his foresight, a lot of people don't realize that the Neuropsychiatric Research Center, we had more participants in that first study, that Biogen study on aducanumab, as we called it, but you may have heard of it as Aduhelm, that more folks here in Southwest Florida stepped forward, and they were the first who received tomorrow's treatments today, and courageously they did so. So that's important to know. You can really turn the course on your health and fitness just by being a part of research, because being a part of research, you learn what's new, what's coming up, quicker than anyone else. In fact, you'll be educating your primary care provider and really helping empower them to be better in working with their patients. What do we know about blue zones? I'll tell you what, when I heard that song, Praise You in the Storm, really gets to me every time. Because I praise God in the storm that I was poor as a college student. Because in my early 20s, I lived in Southern California, and I went to the free clinic because I had no money. Now, what did I have the joy of meeting? Wonderful trainees from Loma Linda University, all Seventh-day Adventists, and I thank them because they changed my life. And they said, Deb, stop smoking, stop drinking alcohol, have a spirit-driven life, have a purpose in your life, and eat nutritional foods, eat mainly a plant-based diet. The best investment of your time is really looking at the Blue Zone research and reaffirming what those wonderful trainees, they gave me a precious gift, and that it did change the course of my life because fortunately I listened to them. So take a look at that, because along with that, they said be physically active, challenge your brain, do whatever you can to stay active mentally, spiritually, physically. And so your work here with Pastor Mark is powerful. And we're looking at research. You'll see there's an article on spirituality. And finally, research. I know I got a lot of criticism as a psychologist for talking about, being physically active. That was my master's thesis, and how it changes psychological functioning. But we really do know that spirituality is really important. We know that getting the cognitive baseline is really important as well. When we look at these supplements, there's an article to really focus on by Frolov, and when you look at that, you'll find out that the summary answer is no, that supplements, there's not enough in the way of sound scientific support for using those. And there's, as Kim was talking about with me yesterday, better investment of your time, money, energy in taking the monies you might use on that and putting it into things like, additional caregiving and support there. Next, you'll see some steps on the path to cognitive health, and that these are also important. So where do we go from here? Research as a tool for you is a powerful one. You can come to us and you get the most knowledgeable team. When Dr. Mass talked about, we don't know about the ARIA, those changes in the brain, that there are trained folks who can guide you more, and they don't push you in one direction or another. They really understand the importance of customization and hearing your message. This is a picture of our mobile memory unit. These are our principal investigators. We talked about Dr. Huffaker. We also have Dr. Springer, and Dr. Mello is a new addition. What we know is at our research site, you're going to learn about things like gamma ray stimulation, going directly into your optic nerve and auditory system. That involves no drugs at all. You'll also hear about about neuroinflammation. You'll hear about the impact of energy, sugar in the brain, and what happens there, and about addressing that. We know when you're a part of our team, and we consider you part of our team when you come in and join with us, that you will find out about all kinds of things in real time. We'll let you know what's coming up and what are some of the changes and additional things that you can do to support your brain health. So I've given you some other resources to help you stay sharp, and AARP has got some beautiful information to share with you. I'll be available with Irene. We can't wait to talk to you more about your personal circumstances at our table. And here are some of the listing of the articles that you'll find. And as you go through there, it'll give you a great self-study and effort to move forward. But I look forward to speaking with each one of you and getting to know you more over time, being part of your life. And when you come to us for a screening, we check in with you with your permission every year to make sure and track your cognitive functions. So if there's a change, then we can jump on it and let you know that it's time to consider. Often there are modifiable risk factors, and that's what we look to find out. Change those different things like we've heard about sleep and about sleep apnea, about a vitamin deficiency or thyroid functioning. But I thank you for your kind attention, and I really appreciate the chance to be with you.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. Please subscribe to the channel if you've not already done so, and leave a review if you found the content to be helpful.